My professor life is not actually a big portion of my life.
Okay.
It's an important one.
Yeah.
But academia has like all these status games, and there's people who are like in the game. And I'm what's called an adjunct, which means I teach a class.
Yeah.
But that's kind of all I do.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
class a year. And it's because I love teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And also in my world and my work, being able to call myself a professor is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So a lot of my work is like helping entrepreneurs and founders in like other countries. And they don't know any of the companies I've started.
Yeah.
But they damn sure know the University of Texas.
Yeah.
So being able to get that is really, really powerful. It gets me into a lot of doors. And I'm trying, I teach a lot of AI stuff, like bleeding edge, weird stuff.
Yeah.
That's just not legible.
Which we're going to get into.
Yeah. And so but they speak the language of, oh, he's a professor at R1.
So he knows what he's talking
research.
about.
Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, I think one of the most interesting things you've taught me is status arbitrage.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Well, one, you took an existing status structure and then ingrained yourself or ingratiated yourself into it, and then use that to open doors for yourself. But the other thing you mentioned that was really interesting is creating like arbitrary status structures that then other people can vie for. There was an example you gave. Was it like you did some like entrepreneurship award or something like that?
Yeah. So that was a move in my previous company. This was a sly move at getting business. And I've been doing like a similar thing that I can get to. But basically, my world is, again, entrepreneurship, education, helping founders. And that's a cool thing now. But 15 years ago, this was not cool.
Yeah.
It was, entrepreneur was code for you sleep in your mom's couch, like on the basement. Like kind of thing. And so we invented.
It was a slur.
Yeah. So we invented the like Entrepreneurship Professor of the Year awards, just like out of thin air.
Yeah.
And then we started emailing a ton of profs who, we did the research and figured out they had lines to budget and said, hey, you should like nominate, someone for this. And by the way, we strongly encourage you self-nominations, which of course, like when we sent this out, 90% of the people were self-nominated.
Yeah.
And then they would win it. And again, like think if you're trying to sell something. One email is, hey, buy my stuff.
Yeah.
The other one is, hey, would you like this award? It's going to take you 3 seconds to, and again, no one owned that space, right?
Yeah.
These days, there's more stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that gave us inroads to all these great people, all this great work, and like spurred a ton of deals. And also, we had people just advertising us, saying, hey, I won the 3-day startup entrepreneurship professor of the year for their state or whatever.
Right.
So things like that.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. We did a comedy festival. A comedy residency at East Austin when I first started, and it worked out the same way where people were like, "Oh, I won this residency," but in my head I was like, "Oh, I feel like a fraud for doing this," But it was like they got great, stage time and blah blah blah. But then the problem was we didn't get the caliber of talent that we ideally wanted, and then I was like, I don't want to keep doing this until.
That's like always a risk. And at the core, you have to make sure you're doing good work, right?
Yeah,
that needs to happen before everything.
Right.
And the people who don't do that, like we have a term for that. They're called grifters.
Yeah.
But again, if you're doing good work, what is painfully clear is that sometimes that is insufficient.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of people who are brilliant, amazing, do great stuff, but they are terrible at telling their story.
Yeah, marketing and
that's
branding.
why I kind of help them come up with weird ways of doing
Yeah.
That and the fact that, we live in the AI slop era and are torpedoing down that road.
Yeah.
So like we need to find ways to stand out to differentiate ourselves.
Okay, let's go into AI. This is what I've been talking about for about 23 hours of every day.
Well, first thing, just checking, are you a full doomer yet? Are you wondering about humanity and losing your mind?
I've been a full doomer since so I read, do you know the book Superintelligence?
Yes.
By Nick Bostrom?
Okay, no, that was the OG simulation theory argument.
Yeah. Well, so I read that in 2011, before AI was anything. Somebody recommended it. I'm forgetting who, but then and then I became like, oh, this is happening. But then nothing was happening in the external world. And then ChatGPT came out, and it reignited all of that. And I've been talking about this ad nauseum for a while. Simultaneously, so I'm both a full doomer, but simultaneously, I think there's 3 approaches to AI, which is one, you can keep your head in the sand, which I think is the coward's move. Then there's the gross blind optimism that a lot in Silicon Valley have, which I think is foolish. And then I think it's like the third route is you can be afraid of where it's going, but also look it directly in the eyes and interface with it and play with it. And that's I think the heroic path also happens to be the path I'm on. So maybe I'm full of shit, but I do think that I'm obsessed with it. So I think a great entry point is, what are you using right now?
I don't like talking about what I'm using right now. I will tell you.
Yeah.
I just recently switched like full on Claude. I'm knee deep in Claude Code. I'm staying away from OpenClaw and that thing for now.
Why?
There is a threshold of where you want to put yourself on like bleeding edge stuff versus being a laggard, and being a bleeding edge is a waste of time. So, OpenClaw changed names 3 times over last weekend. I think it's magical and cool, and it looks amazing. But I want to let other people be the bugs on the windshield.
I'm doing it.
Well, like I hope you enjoy having files on your computer, because they're going to disappear. No, I'm very excited. I'm going to go to a cool meetup around this tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
But I am not going to go ham like all weekend doing this yet. Again, I was actually a little bit late to Claude Code, but immediately my kind of head exploded. So that's what I use. But the issue with it is that like the tools are changing so fast that I think there's diminishing returns to saying why Opus 4.5 is better than something else. Like I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but it doesn't seem like the right place to put my emphasis right now.
Well, so what I would say is open, from my understanding, and obviously I could be wrong, but I think OpenClaw is this open source tool, and then you can use whatever LLM you want on top of it. So I use Opus 4.6, and it's insane. It's really insane. It's like you attempted to manage me for about 30 minutes. And
I still do. I consider myself just a really bad current manager.
This is just prestige arbitrage that you're doing. But like, it's my life's all over the place. And this has really helped me wrangle different parts of my life, and then like automate elements so that I can be consistently doing the things I know I need to be doing. Because my strength is, I would say, planting seeds and letting them grow, and then immediately losing interest and then moving on to another idea. This still appears in like the way I interface with OpenClaw, but like the ability for it to like keep humming along on an idea to its resolution, or like build up a process that like it can kind of control the feedback loop, is really, really interesting, and really, really like life-changing. So I'm like enamored by it.
That's super bold. I also don't trust anything anyone says when they've been using something for a week. Like that's like first date syndrome, right? You go on a date with someone, you're like, oh my God.
No. I think I want to marry
incredible.
him.
And then like the next week you realize, oh wait, there's this annoying thing about them. Like.
For sure.
So like again, I want this to mature. I want it to develop a little bit. I want other people to step on the rake and hit them in the face. And they learn, don't step on it.
100%.
But like the vision, when I understood what it actually was, specifically being able to interface through chat. And then again, you can choose your model. And again, I don't know if this is my take or I read it somewhere, but the reason that none of the big dogs built this was they're aware of the dangers. Like you can just torch your entire computer if you're giving.
Well, mine's isolated on a separate computer, like the Mac Mini.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was like, I met a lot of people who bought Mac Minis last weekend.
Yeah. I had a Mac Studio that I had bought like a year ago that I was not really engaging with, and now so that's my machine now. But I think I might need to buy another one.
So what I would love to do is when you and I do this, round 2 of this podcast 3 months from now, I want to see if you still feel this way. That's what I want to know.
Sure.
And I'm with you on we need to play with these tools. Like this is a huge deal.
So how are you playing with them?
So my relationship is tricky because I use them heavily, but I am also trying to educate people around them. So my world is like governments, universities pay me money to run like entrepreneurship and startup programs, right? That is, it's economic development usually, right? If there's more startups in a culture, in a community, that's good for the economy. That's mainly what I do. The models for teaching that stuff, like we've been doing this for a while. We know what works. I've been doing this AI stuff I've been teaching AI for the last like 2.5 years. And you have to relearn it every 3 months. You have to so we have not mastered how to communicate this. There are no like here's the framework, how you explain this to a normie. Everything people do sucks or isn't working. Things like build a personal prompt library. I'm surprised when I do this kind of work with like a regular company, not a tech company, not a bunch of curious nerds. people need to know that, like, oh, you can install a ChatGPT app on your computer. Like, that's the kind of questions.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Full Luddites.
So like, we're definitely having a pretty massive gap happening.
Yeah.
And I don't have any good answers to how we resolve this other than what you said, which is like, you just got to play with these things.
Nonstop, I think.
Yeah. But the way I specifically use it is, again, my world, I love being an educator, but I like money. And so if those two things are true, the best thing to do is to start an education company. So that's what I do. And for me, the joy, the fun is teaching people, right?
Yeah.
The metaphor I use is the inappropriate metaphor is like a photographer for like a bikini magazine.
Yeah.
The more appropriate metaphor would be like National Geographic, right? That person is in the woods taking pictures of some like beautiful deer or something.
Yeah.
But that's what they do 10% of the time.
Yeah.
90% of the time, they are going back and forth on a contract. They're trying to convince National Geographic to re-up them to send them to Borneo to go do stuff there. It's this kind of crap.
Yeah.
So most of my AI is doing that so I can have the joy of teaching. So I'm using it to get new business. And that's things like building proposals. Like there was an island nation that I'm trying to woo, and they need a 50-page
Does
proposal.
it rhyme with Klepstein?
No, no, that would be much more than the money.
It'd be way better money. Yeah.
And like to make a proposal like 50 pages long with all the stuff they need, methodology, all this kind of stuff. And back in the day, we'd take like 6 people, including some PhDs and some researchers. Now I can do it just me.
Yeah.
Right. Now to be fair, like I have the domain knowledge to know how to do it, but like that's a huge deal.
And even if you don't have the domain knowledge, that you could do deep research on like figuring out, maybe it's not perfect domain knowledge. I totally agree with you. Yeah. This is where it gets interesting, is because I feel like there's no more moats. What is the moat?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for this. I share in the same fear. Historically, like for the last 2 years, people have been saying taste. Taste is the moat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like interesting stuff this week being discussed on X around like, well, that moat is gone.
Yeah.
Part of my work, a lot of my work is facilitation. Facilitation means getting in a room full of people and getting them to go do something. And part of the reason that works is it's making a human connection with other people. And I'm part of like communities of facilitators. And like they're always complaining about how badly paid they are. The question is, if human connection and trust, if you're really good at setting that up in a group of people quickly, I think that'll become valuable. Now, whether it means they'll get paid for it, that I don't know. The economics, like how financial stuff moves around these days, like I do not feel confident predicting that at all.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, and I know it feels different this time, but throughout human history, every time there's been something new and different that's killed a bunch of jobs, killed a bunch of work, something new has always arisen. Yeah. So that is something I kind of cling to, like a life rest.
Clinging is the perfect descriptor for that, because I agree that like that has been true historically, but this feels like a fundamentally new thing, which is that we are spawning what I think is consciousness.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is I've always thought we were special. Throughout human history, we've always thought, okay, well, the Earth is the middle of the universe. Okay, not the Earth. The sun is the middle of the universe. The sun is not the center of the universe, right?
Yeah.
It's a galaxy. And so every time we learn just how small we are.
Yeah.
And then consciousness has been one of the last strongholds. And like, all we are learning is not that AI is great. All we are learning is that consciousness is not that special.
Yeah. And it turns out, like, so I was reading, he's a researcher at Google's DeepMind. I'm forgetting his name, but it's very Asian. It's like something. Okay. Anyways, so like he in his like end of the year review and kind of looking forward, he described it as consciousness is just a matter of how much computation you can throw at something. So if you throw enough computation at it, like. We had a little bit of computation and we could solve chess games, right? Then we 10x that. Now we can do the game of Go, and then we order of magnitude again, and now we can read and write, and then it's again going to happen and again going to happen, and so consciousness is just a matter of compute.
Yeah, I mean it's the bitter lesson, right? Are you familiar with that? It's with chess. For a long time, they were building chess simulators to like they would add compute, but they would consult grandmasters and get their expertise. Yeah. And then the thing that made chess great was like, well, they stopped talking to human experts and just added more compute. Yeah. And then people were like, okay, well that's chess. Go is different. Lee Sedol is the best Go player in the world. And again, AlphaGo, the
Yeah.
beat him was, again, all compute.
Self-trained.
Yeah. Just like planning itself, that sort of thing. So we do find that. But I am, like you said, like you kind of inferred earlier, I still have optimism, even if it's not completely founded. Like, I think there's room for positivity here, just because I've been in a number of cases in my life, been a doomer about certain things, and I was always wrong, which was very like pleasant to know.
Yeah.
Even though this feels different, I also feel like this is very common in entrepreneurship, that if you believe you're shit, you are shit.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's like some strategic upside just in believing that things aren't completely effed, right?
Totally agree. Now, I am also trying to hold on to that, and I engage with AI in that form of like, let's use this to make the things that I want to make. The example you gave with National Geographic is kind of how I'm using it for, let's say, the Comedy Club and Brown Noise and all these things that I'm working on. Now, that being said, then I go on X, and then I hear Anthropic's lead safety researcher resigned with a essay on why he resigned. The key points that I remember is him saying the world is in peril, and that he's going to go into like a small UK village and write poems.
Yeah.
So that makes it really, that gives me a pit in my stomach of like, of course, I see the ways I can use this technology, and it's beautiful, and it's making all these things happen in my life. I'm 10x the productivity that I have. I have no interest in kind of passively consuming slop online. I'm more interested because it's giving like a Neanderthal a hammer. It's like, oh, all of a sudden he can do a bunch of stuff with this tool. Simultaneously, I'm the speed with which the hammer is turning into the atomic bomb in this metaphor is on not a decade-long timeline, not a century-long timeline. It's on it feels like week-long timeline. And so that makes the whole thing feel almost, I'm trying to avoid the paralysis of what that means. But I can't help but feel that there's something just on the horizon.
You might also be spending too much time on X. Like there's something, again, I'm not saying that the world goes away when you shut your eyes, but there is an argument of, do we need to be staring at this stuff all day? Is this good for us? That being said, yeah, the speed is the crazy part. The thing that I think about a lot is the car accident is usually not when the person falls asleep in the wheel and drifts into the lane. It's when they overcorrect. It's when they wake up and realize they're drifting out of the lane, and they overcorrect and then run in off the road.
Yeah.
My concern is not actually AI. My concern is, how do we as a species react to this? And I think our reaction puts us in the best possible spot to do as well.
Yeah.
Do I have any cogent thoughts about how we do that? Hell no. Because as you said, the speed is increasing.
Yeah.
But
well, and it's interesting why the speed is increasing. One is the LLMs are writing themselves now. I think XAI articulated that they are going to, if I'm not mistaken, called like a recursive self-learning loops or something like that, where not only does like Opus 4.6 was almost 99% written by Opus 4.5.
Yeah.
So that's already one thing. But now it's going to recursively build on itself. In other words, like anything it needs to improve, it will just rewrite it itself without any human input whatsoever. And so I don't know. I hope it's that I'm too much on X. I hope that's the answer. I'm moving to San Francisco for at least 3 months just to live there and see, because this is the epicenter of humanity right now.
for sure.
So
I don't see anyone who has really cracked the code on this one, but this is incredibly hard stuff. And I do think that if humans are good at anything, it's finding meaning out of something. Mm-hmm. I believe in our ability to find something to hang on to this life raft. In fact, do better than hanging on a life raft. Do I know what that is? No.
Yeah.
But I think the absolute worst thing ever would be to get desperate, too scared. There's a really beautiful Ted Chiang story about where people start getting this thing called akinetic mutism. It's a weird short story, but it talks about what it means when people give up. And that's a sad, terrible
Yeah.
thing. Now, as a guy who works with entrepreneurs and is an entrepreneur himself, entrepreneurs are often
now in the slur sense, you mean that, or
they're delusional.
Yeah.
They're high agency, and I think that again we've also seen that high agency has become a term that people understand now. Like, and again, the bigger this term gets, I think high agency is a good countermeasure to us offloading too much to AI. Having it run our lives and losing our own kind of discernment, judgment. And how it runs our lives. But for now, I just want to watch and see how it plays out because, as you said, it's moving, and I'm just been too frustrated thinking like, okay, I'm going to set my sights here, and then the puck keeps moving. Right?
Yeah. It makes it hard to even choose what to use, like Claude Code came out in November and it blew everyone away. And then, they'll be like, oh, maybe I'll make videos and stuff like that with AI. And then a month later, there's a new version that's like, you got to be using this one instead of the old one. It's like, well, I spent so much time trying to grapple with the previous one. And so it feels like it's moving at a pace where it's hard to also like commit to mastery of a particular thing because it's a torrent of.
Why do you have to commit to something in that world? Like tool fatigue is very, very real.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff outside of that, right? There's a lot of things that have like how to connect with a human being in a room. Is something that can happen sans AI.
Yeah.
There are people who are good at that, people who are bad at it.
Yeah.
But I think there's certain things that no matter what's happening, if you know someone, and again, this is like going to our like human hardware, our ability to like make eye contact and feel a sense of connection. That has always been valuable, and I don't think it's going to get less so.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I'm still participating in that. I already have, in my opinion, for me at least, I have these kind of physical spaces. I've created a little enclave for myself, like making food and producing comedy, as if it's a factory. But I engage with the physical world and human connection in that sense. But and then I spend time trying to master those things. But this world is the one that seems like it's dominating everything and eating everything else. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, what do I do? And the best I can, it's just a lot, and all I can do is talk about it. And I was on a date, and this is all I talked about, trying to explain Moltbook, and
I bet there's not going to be a second date.
Nah, she loved it, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. I had to in the middle of it. I was like, I think I'm going insane. Because if you're
Moltbook is nuts. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And again, I think we can peel back the curtain on that and see it's not all agents doing that.
Yeah.
But that I thought was a great example of this is the kind of things we can expect to see in this new, and I want to see more of that again, so I can get a little desensitized to it. So I get used to recognize it, because that was a kind of a new category of thing.
Yeah.
And I think us getting used to new categories of things is
good.
Smart right now.
It's good. Yeah. And getting used to the creation of new categories of things.
Yeah,
not just that particular category.
Yeah. So another way you and I know each other is I ran a course around like how to be good on camera and how to do video. And a lot of that was people wanting to get really good in Zoom. And this was a business I was running during the pandemic, which was great because everybody was on camera. I met fellow professors who they hated Zoom, which I agree, like in-person's better, but they hated it, and they were just constantly waiting for it to be done. They didn't make any effort to learn, okay, here's how we could maybe get good in Zoom, maybe better production, maybe warmer delivery, maybe like learning the basics of the tool, like breakout rooms. That was Zoom.
Yeah.
This is a way bigger deal.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm surprised how often people think it's just Google without the ads, or this is how I write emails.
Yeah.
Like all of what you were talking about, that is what they have boxed it into.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think that attitude is going to serve them very well.
Yeah, and I think that's like, I would say 98% of the world, I would say. So I have obviously a very small data sample, but I can't help but ask everyone I talk to about this. So like when I go on stage, every time I'm like, oh, what AIs are you using? Because I think you can get a sense of where they're at based on what AIs they're using. Like if they're using ChatGPT, I think they have like kind of a just like a preliminary understanding of AI. They've like dabbled in using it as Google search. And then Claude is another thing. And then I think OpenClaw is the frontier. and maybe, one or two people I've asked have used it. And then immediately after my set, I like go whisper to them, like, let's exchange numbers.
Yeah.
No, so I have someone to talk to about this.
I'm going to be running some startup programs and some AI education programs in South Africa and Brunei this year. And I'm really, really curious to understand, like, where are they as it relates to this stuff? Has it disseminated? Are they having similar conversations like this?
Yeah.
Or is it, again, some of these tools don't even work in some of these countries. Like, I'm very interested to see what that's like.
Also, it's like, it's also interesting to see, like, is there, like, the capability of them leapfrogging? Because, let's say they have they have internet access, but now all of a sudden they get access to LLMs. Do they jump to kind of like what happened in Africa with telephone lines?
Yeah, landlines.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the case. I also think like China is just moving so fast in a really interesting way that they keep releasing open source models that are like state of the art that are so much more affordable than the US ones.
Yeah.
And there's some win that they're just wholesale stealing, which they are.
Of course.
But also they're cheaper and they're open source. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me and this woman I know who I met through the writing course, she and I are making a project that's called the Westerner's Guide to Chinese Startups, because there's really interesting stuff happening over there and no one talks about it. Like, if you're a really innovative person in France or in Bolivia, like, you're going to learn to speak English. It's just, it's inevitable. But China is so large that you actually don't need to learn to speak. So a lot of the experts over there and doing interesting stuff, like, they never learn English because why do they need to? Their market is big enough. And so she just moved, my partner in this, she just moved to Shenzhen and is setting up over there. And we're just interviewing a ton of people to try to get a sense of that, because they are doing wild innovative stuff, cheaper models. And
what is she doing there specifically?
Interviewing people and starting to run events, but the point is to like get deep into the network. Eventually, we might productize this and sell like missions. So like when people want to go see what are they doing in China, we would give them tours, like go to this company and then and get them to interact and understand what's going on over there.
But do they any interest in a comedy club guy going to Shenzhen? I would love to go to Shenzhen and just soak it in.
Well, I know a guy who's the Will Mannon does comedy in Kunming.
Will Mannon from Rite of Passage?
Yes.
He does comedy now?
In Chinese.
What?
In Kunming.
What? That's great.
He realized that, hey, I can compete over here in the States. He gets on so many bills just because he's a tall white guy.
Wow. What a move.
Yeah.
I can compete in this market.
I know a lot more about the Chinese comedian market from him if you want to create details.
Yeah.
But again, I think that I'm also quite interested in one of the theses around AI is that like creativity is important. Like if you're not creative, you're screwed, because like you need to think of new ways to use it. And the education system over there is different. It does not foster creativity the way the Western system does. So that brings to bear like what are people gonna like? How will they be able to leverage it? But right now, I'm just like trying to soak up anyone using it for interesting stuff. So I keep like a lot of use cases, and I'm just very curious of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Did you ever use StumbleUpon? Yeah. I feel like this is a prime opportunity. I don't have the bandwidth to make it, but like this is a prime opportunity for someone to make StumbleUpon, but for the things that people are making with AI right now.
Yeah.
Because it's literally, you think it, you can make it to a certain extent. Obviously there's glitches in that, but like, so then people are just making stuff so frequently that like somebody needs to collect all of this. This is like, and it has early internet energy in a way that's so optimistic. Or I wouldn't say optimistic because there's a healthy dose of pessimism, but like there's it's so full of creativity without like inherently being tied to how do I monetize this in the most funnel optimized way, which then kind of flattens the landscape, which is what I think happened to the internet.
Yeah, and monetization is weird right now. Like, there used to be like pretty predictable things you could do to build audience, to build customers, and it feels like that's kind of going out the window right now. We'll see, but again, when I'm trying to, a lot of my, like this project in South Africa is like how to use AI to get customers, and the way I would teach it changes about every 3 weeks based on like what's currently happening. Yeah. And that's really annoying as a guy who's got to build these programs, right? But it's also interesting, and to your point, there's some of that energy. And I think people who put their head in the sand it's not going to go well.
Yeah. It's really bad. But here's a question for you. Are there elements of your domain and by domain I mean the entirety of your life, where you are like, I want to keep this analog?
Yeah. I take raw walks, which means no headphones.
Yeah.
And I walk a lot. I walked here.
Yeah.
I want to have actually more of that as possible, because I think cognitively I can only handle so much that's like hyper optimized, hyper AI. So I have more parts of my life now that are analog than before.
I guess what I mean is like in terms of output for what you provide to the world. That's not like augmented by AI.
No, I would say that, I mean, the sheer majority of it, if it costs nothing to quickly run something against AI and get some feedback. Again, I'm trying to keep my sense of discernment and judgment.
Yeah.
But if I'm giving a talk, like I'm gonna workshop it a little bit. If I'm planning anything, if it's a really, really important email, I'm gonna check it around those things. But so, and again, there were in the beginning, so much guidance from AI was shit. It was just terrible. But as we've noticed, like it's getting a lot better. Yeah. So now I have a healthy dose of like, well, we should at least try.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's very interesting. I'm trying to find like where are the quote unquote sacred portions where I'm like, I still want to keep my voice. There's two domains for me. The first one is stand up, which is the joy of stand up would be decimated if I were, if someone else was writing my voice, to me at least. Yeah. So now the elements around stand-up that could be potentially interesting, like the business elements and all the shit that I'm bad at anyways, I am learning to automate all of those pieces. The second is writing. And now writing has branched into two pieces. One is the writing that I do that is mine, that I've written, that I've constructed. And then there's a second writing that I am doing that is kind of like, well, you need to do like SEO writing for, let's say, RazaJafri.com. And it's like, well, I want to kind of articulate the things I'm working on because I think they're interesting, and I think I can gather an audience potentially based on what I'm working on. But also, I'm not going to write a journal of like, hey, I made a Polymarket bot, whatever. Or I took like my voice DNA, my writer's DNA voice by like compiling all my Substacks, and then this is what it gave me, and this is how you can do it. So these are things that are helpful to a broader audience, but I'm not really interested in writing in that format. The type of writing I like to do is just like whatever, philosophical musings or whatever. And so like it's branched into this thing where like I am writing with machine aid for, I guess, SEO. And then I'm also writing for myself that like may not be optimized, but it's authentically me. Yeah. And so I was just interested because like, the biggest, the place where most creatives especially balk at this is that it takes away this sense of self because you are offloading everything onto this machine.
I think that's real. And I think also the muscles are going to atrophy.
100%.
If we let the AI do all the heavy lifting. I think that voice like will disappear. Yeah. Again, at the smallest level, I think you got to get the annoying, too many M dashes. It's not X, it's Y type stuff. But again, that's a pretty surface, like shallow level thing. But I use it a lot in my writing just because I learned pretty early on that like no one cares about my theories of business and like where tech is going. What they do care about is that time like I almost got robbed in a pedicab in India or something. Yeah. And so again, I'm still using AI heavily, but the original like story is everything is mine. Yeah. Right.
And so what is your process? You voice note the story itself?
A lot of voice. Yeah. I'm very like deep into voice, and then a lot of back and forth. And I'm still a member of like multiple feedback gyms. You show up in a Zoom and there's a bunch of other writers and we each read each other's stuff. Yeah. I have learned that the stuff that I write that other humans see is always so much better than the stuff that I write and I don't show to anybody else. Yeah. So I always like get sets of human eyes. People come and I recommend that a lot just because it makes you have more. I feel like I earned it. Yeah. When you earn the work, you trust it and respect it more. Like again, when you tell your jokes, they're yours. And you can be proud of that. That you produced this thing. Whereas like that's why I don't understand. Like a lot of I just don't understand how people could bite jokes. Like it just seems awful.
What do you mean bite jokes?
Steal jokes.
Oh yeah.
They didn't write.
Right.
And because there's some comedians that's like all they do.
Yeah.
Or like again online we have writers who are just like wholesale completely borrowing stuff, and that just seems bad.
Yeah. Well, it's to get to the dopamine at the end of it. These I think they exist in any sort of ecosystem. This kind of like, well, I just want the reward at the end rather than the path to get to the reward. So I can get, like, for example, with money is or profit, or making a profit is the end product of making some sort of product that that people value. But you can also just circumvent creating the product and then get to the money by being a grifter or whatever. And I
don't know. Like, I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not defending here. I'm just saying it's human nature.
Yeah. But personally, like, I don't know. I believe in like old school shit, like
discipline.
I want to be proud of the work.
Yeah, 100%.
And I want it to be me.
Totally
agree.
Totally.
I want to win on my terms.
Yeah.
I want to win because I did the thing, not because I jocked someone.
Yeah. In fact, I think even if the end product isn't payoff, the act of throwing your voice out there is reward in itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, so I think right before we got in here, you were saying you were working on a bunch of projects. Is there anything you can share without it being immediately stolen by an LLM?
No one's going to steal anything. So that like Westerner's Guide to Chinese startups and Chinese AI is going to be super interesting. But I'm running a customer acquisition through AI program in South Africa. And I've worked in like 24 countries, but I've never actually worked in Africa. So I'm really pumped to go to Cape Town.
Cool.
I'm doing, what I'm most excited about is this project in Brunei. It's a kind of AI entrepreneurship program I'm going to run. Brunei is in Southeast Asia. It's kind of near Borneo. The country's in an interesting position. They have all this like oil money, but they don't.
That's always a good good starting point for a new nation state.
Well, there's like, the resource curse. Yeah. But they know.
Yeah.
They need to figure out like the next thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for this program because it's going to be fun and cool and interesting.
What are you going to do there?
Teach a bunch of AI stuff. But what I really want to do is I want to pitch the Sultan. I want to pitch him, hey, here's the vision for what we can do for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And I will not get a meeting with the Sultan.
Yeah.
But I might be able to get a meeting with
the assistant to the regional Sultan.
Yeah, exactly. And the assistant to the assistant. And but to me, like, chasing stuff like that is really, really fun.
Yeah.
And when a country, when a nation is in a spot where they know they need to make changes, they're just more open to more interesting, innovative stuff.
And fast feedback loops. Yeah.
So
you're going to create the line, but for Burnia.
I mean, the line isn't working, so I'm going to try to come up with something that works.
Yeah. You should just wholesale copy what the line was, all their PDFs, the slideshow, and then pitch it to them.
Yeah, but it's there to me. Like, again, I get a lot of joy out of the international side of things about understanding how other people are thinking. And in the U.S., like, we're certainly, I think, the most advanced, but we're up our own butts in many ways. Like, we're in our own bubble. And so it's really, really useful to go see like how, like, just learning what's going on in China has been quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's just not happening. It's not working the same way over there as it is over here.
Yeah.
And so getting a sense of that, I find very valuable.
You're saying it's not working over there?
No, it's working.
Oh, okay.
That's what's so strange. It's an authoritarian government. And AI development is going at a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
Which, again, we used to believe that you needed the marketplace of ideas and all this kind of stuff. And top down wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
It's working right now.
Yeah. In fact, the marketplace of ideas can be corrupted when you offer poisonous ideas that disallow for progress.
For sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm excited about all that stuff. I more just don't want to lose my damn mind doing it.
Yeah.
I'm also like...
I think that's we are on the precipice of collective insanity right now.
Yeah. And I don't think that's good.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty... I don't know. I have historically thought of myself as a chill person.
Yeah.
Right now I don't.
Yeah.
Because like you, I am paying very close attention and deeply embedded in this thing that did not exist culturally. AI did not exist
5 years ago.
And so, I don't know. I've never felt less sure about the future. That being said, I don't feel negative about it. Again, I've also spent the last few decades training myself to be optimistic in the face of challenges.
Yeah.
That optimism has not.
It's just
gone
you
away.
with a stress ball over there, huh?
Stressful, I gotta cut it. But my indicator is like right now I wake up at 3 a.m. stressed a lot of nights.
Yeah.
But it's not because of AI. It's because, again, I've got these like really wonderful opportunities in front of me, and I just want to capitalize on them fully, right?
Yeah.
Like I get a lot of joy of making impact in the world, and I believe I'm very like entrepreneur pilled. I think that entrepreneurs like have a lot of impact, a lot of positive impact. And
Yeah.
so like supporting them makes me happy. But I also want to help people with AI. And right now the models and frameworks by which we teach normies how to use AI are not great.
Right.
It's just a moving target.
Yeah.
But I'm happy. Like again, I think we are in control of how we feel about things. And so if you're freaking about AI, just like step back, get off X, you know.
I don't, this is the thing is I'm not freaking out. I guess I am freaking out a little bit, but I'm holding composure. But I also think there's no, if anyone's equipped to look into this, I feel like I am. This is where I'm deeply, it's whatever the frontier of humanity is, that's always what's excited me. And so like, I think why would I step over? I mean, I do kind of personally have this internal conflict of, do I go move to a small village and write poems? You know what I'm saying? There's something beautiful about that.
There's something beautiful about that. But life is beautiful now. Like the fact that we live in this city of Austin and that like this is just this amazing community and there's people around and like we have it really good. I think it's pretty human nature to forget that.
For sure. But I'm saying in the face of like this onslaught, this tsunami that's happened. I'm referring back to the AI researcher. So, but the action that I am choosing to take is moving to SF and
yeah, I like it how you're going closer.
You're
the moth getting like closer to the flame.
That's the only option. That's the only option.
Yeah.
It's not the only option, but that's what feels correct. In fact, I'm supposed to go in April, and I'm feeling like, what if April's too late? That's how fast I think it's moving. The singularity.
Nothing is too late. Nothing is too late.
That's true.
You don't believe me at all. You're just saying that.
No, because the singularity is here.
Like, have you read a lot about like fast takeoff scenarios?
Yeah.
Like I read I'm a big nerd, so I read a ton of sci-fi, which I felt actually was like great prep for this kind of stuff. I read
Asimov.
Well, I read like everybody, but there was one book. Charlie Strauss wrote this great book called Accelerando, and this whole book is about agents. Like, I remember there's a scene in this book where he's like, it's in the future, and two people decide they want to do business together. So like they get a beer, and they're like, okay, my agent will talk to your agent, and then it's just like they're open clause, just talking to each other, working out the details. And so when that came out, I was like, okay, there we go. There's another one, I forget the title.
Was this recently?
No, he wrote like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's other authors who read about like the fast takeoff scenarios about once, you know, the when the robots are building themselves, that's when. That's the kink in the growth curve.
Yeah.
And
that's the recursive loop that
learning that like
XAI
the new codex was like not codex. I think I can't remember one of these models, like you said, was it built itself.
Yeah, 4.6 Opus 4.6. Yeah.
Yeah. So that like in those books, that was the indicator of the kink of the growth curve. Who knows if that's true?
Yeah.
My point is that we are still flesh and blood. We are human beings. We have dealt with change before. Again, not at this pace and scale, but like we've made it this far. Yes, humanity has hung on the precipice a couple times, and yes, we might be near a precipice now.
Yeah,
we've done it this far, and sometimes, like I don't know a lot of people who have the answer to remedy these problems, but I do know what makes it worse: freaking out.
Agreed.
Going full religious zealot. I mean, I'm surprised we don't have more AI churches at this point. More like people just, you know, the GPT 4.0 pilled, losing their damn minds.
Yeah.
But again, you and I are the kind of nerds who get into this stuff. Normal people aren't doing this.
Yeah. Well, they'll get there. You don't think so?
We might fix it by then. We might solve it.
No, I strongly disagree. I think kind of like what happened with social media, of like most, you know, everyone's attention is shattered. Their dopamine feedback loop has been totally co-opted.
Mine hasn't.
And abused. But you are the exception rather than the rule.
No, there's tons of people like me.
But I think enough research shows that like most people are on their phones doom scrolling all the time. And doesn't that suggest, and the byproduct of them doom scrolling is, one, their attention span has been shattered, and two, they are at the mercy of whatever emotional manipulations are happening using social media. And so like I'm not saying that's everyone, and I gravitate towards the people who, you know, can recognize this and poison and move away from it the best they can. But like if social media has been this addictive substance that has been a tragedy on human society, AI is at a order of magnitude more addictive because it responds to you and speaks to you. And what happened with this small subset of people who use 4.0 and developed a relationship, this is going to happen to everyone.
Humanity, like, if anything, there's a lot of error correction. Like, all we are we are idiots who make mistakes, and then we do our best to fix those mistakes.
Yeah.
Like social media, there's been a lot of positive, but I don't think any of us are feeling like, wow, this has been great.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think
this is not to deny your optimism, and I think I'm trying to hold two things together. One is the realistic, like a realism of like where this technology is going and how it's going to affect most people, especially when they are initially head in the sand and then they have no choice but to engage with these substances, let's call them. And then two is, well, how can we engage in a way where we're creating rather than consuming something that's been ChatGPT has ads in there. So now you're asking, you saw the Claude ads or whatever. Yeah. You're asking like these deep, vulnerable questions, and now you're getting fed mind worms. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know what the the reason I brought that up was, but I think you can be both optimistic or honest and hopeful. And also be realistic with the nuclear fallout that's about to happen with this technology.
For sure. And, a sign of a smart person is one who can hold like conflicting ideas in their mind at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I have given up on like having, okay, I can count on this in every situation. This mindset is always going to work. Like, I have plenty of doomer in me.
Yeah.
But I see smart people who are realizing that, you know what, I'm going to go write poetry on that mountain. And I bet part of that person's view is they might get some answers.
Yeah.
And I hope they come back and they share those answers with the people who need them. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm very in love with stand-up because I see it as like every time I do it now, it's like, well, this might be the last vestiges of humans playing with each other.
Yeah. Well, I've been to the club twice in the last month, and just like the sound, the humanity in there.
Yeah.
Is this very like beautiful thing. Like I felt these like very still moments. Also, like nobody's on their phones.
Yeah.
And you're just there, and someone is on stage, and you hear 8 comics a night or whatever, and some of them just crush it. Some of them are nervous, but even like the nervous person, again, that's a human emotion that they're
bouncing with other humans.
And then it's very unpredictable. Like you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And that is like something magical and powerful. And it just really, I'm sure you know this and think about this a lot, but I had forgotten that a Netflix movie is just, even if it's a great film, like it's preordained how that's going to end up.
Yeah.
And there was something so alive about sitting in that room, watching comedians do it that was beautiful and touching. And I was like, I fucking love this.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, I was going through a phase of like, well, this all feels, this was like deep freak out where I was like, well, this all feels moot. The whole like the career trajectory and all of that feels pointless and
yeah, like what is that?
Yeah. All of that feels so useless. The kind of branding yourself on social media and constantly being available in this like gross way felt gross to me, and I was like, am I done with stand-up? Is this like the end of an era for me? And then now I move into this thing that's obviously gonna take over humanity. And then I actually I consulted AI and tried to articulate this and realized that it's actually this is the refuge. So like I go explore in that world, but this is the humanity. This keeps my humanity rather than fully abandoning it. And in fact, to abandon it would be such a shame.
Yeah, and in the same way when these models started, they all sucked, right? And now they're amazing. It is a new thing for us to reconnect with our humanity in this way. We haven't had to because we've been like chained to it, right?
Taking it for granted, yeah.
So we're only now and again, you're advanced, but somebody in Nebraska.
Literally all I wanted to hear this whole
is gonna
somebody to tell me I'm advanced.
Even that like ego awareness is like a very human thing. But the point is that like humanity, we haven't spent a lot of time trying to celebrate this in the wake of it. And in some ways, like, one great way to bond people together is to create an enemy.
Yeah.
Like, like, again, all the disaster movies when aliens invade, like that's the one thing that gets the planet together. Like, again, you and I are thinking about this stuff, but like people don't even hate AI yet. It's still like a cool toy. Like we're gonna hit a pretty hard winter pretty soon. There's gonna be like crazy shit happening because, and what that might do for humanity might be the most beautiful thing in the world. We might like be able to remove our differences and like understand what it means to be alive and like all the important
historically
shit.
we've been able to do that. Yeah.
Well, but this is like a global scale. This isn't like some like nation bullshit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like one thing that was weird to me is I was a like hipster music snob much in my youth, and I played sports, but I was like, oh, sports are so for like cavemen, that's so bullshit. And like one of the things I really love now is I'm like really hardcore like UT football. Like I am just like really into.
There you go.
And the reason I'm into it is like this thing, the shared thing I get to celebrate. We talk about like the death of monoculture, right? And there'll never be another Beatles or something like that. But like when I'm watching a UT football game, I get to feel like I'm part of this collective fabric, which is rare. Like, I didn't realize how much I missed it and how big of a deal. So now like my emotional well-being is tied up in the performance of the football team, which is there's probably smarter things to do, but that's where it is. Again, like humanity is just beginning to think about, well, maybe we need to preserve this. Maybe we need to think a little bit more about these sorts of things. Again, Silicon Valley, people in X, they're debating this regularly, but people in the boonies are not. So again, we haven't even seen like meaningful brains thinking about this at scale.
Yeah.
And so that's why this picture might be totally different, which is why I have a lot of like, let's just like check ourselves a bit.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not jumping into OpenClaw.
Sure.
Right? I just want more time needs to pass. And I also like, when I was younger, I made a bit of money, made some really stupid investments, and they were doomer investments. They were like, I don't understand why the stock market is where it is. This does not compute. It's probably going to tank, and those were bad bets. You know, there's that saying like you can stay, the market can stay liquid or solvent
longer than you can. Yeah.
And so now, again, have much less. My confidence interval is way lower on these predictions I'll make.
Yeah.
I remember when Netflix started shipping DVDs, and I was like, "This is so stupid. We're going to be streaming in 6 months." It took like 7 years before Netflix was like streaming and really. Right. So that means I'm like not good at predicting, so I'm staying away from call sheet and stuff like that. Yeah. But it also means that like humanity can only move so fast. Yeah. And again, you're an early adopter. It may turn out that like this, one possible future is this stuff doesn't happen. Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Yeah, you don't believe me at all. I don't believe you. Yeah. We should make bets. To make this real, we should make bets about this. So when we have the reunion podcast from now, like we got to buy the other person a beer or something. Deal. I don't know how we make this concrete, but like in terms of what the actual thing is, but I guess the thing could be like, is OpenClaw. Where do you see, rather than OpenClaw, where do you see, or maybe if you have one, I want to hear yours, but where do you see the world, let's say, a year from now? I think because my prediction is that's when people hate AI the most. Yeah. That's when the job losses have been real. Yeah. Or more real. Yeah. That is when doom and panic is starting to creep in. And again, my argument is that's like not the bottom of the curve, but what's going to come after that will be we figure out some solutions. But it's got to get worse for us to get our shit together. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there's going to be an evisceration of most jobs, most white collar jobs to start off with. But like, I mean, we haven't even touched the robots coming, and them taking off menial jobs as opportunities as well. Don't to a degree, don't you feel like we're in the cheap seats? Like we're just in the bleachers, like watching what's going on in the field, like predicting what the quarterback's going to do. Like what's like again, all I control is what I do in my own life. Yeah. And what I'm arguing is that some people are just going to walk out of the stadium. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'm not saying any of these as a way to, with any moral assignment. You know what I'm saying? My fascination is just to see how it plays out, the way a game would play out. I guess, like your example of like we're in the bleachers. My interest in moving to San Francisco is to play on the field. Yeah, that's where the field is. I agree. Yeah, and I'm actually. Have you read Just Friends? It's a book about New York City in the 80s. Yeah. It's a memoir. And this girl, you know, like first an artist and she meets another artist. They're like kind of destitute. They move into the Chelsea Hotel, which is like this, like there's like 200 hotel rooms. They all get rented out for dollars, like nothing. And all these artists gather, and Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan, all these people are like playing shows and like interfacing with each other. And it's like this kind of hotbed of creative energy. Somebody bought a hotel room in San Francisco and is renting out the hotels. Nice. And I just applied to them.
And I think I got in, but I'm not sure because I ranted for a while about AI, and they're like, yeah, this is what we need actually. So my hope is to go
be
into
part of that collective,
the Chelsea Hotel of San Francisco and be around that, you know. So we'll see what happens.
I love that. Again, I think the being around other like-minded people who are thinking in interesting ways, there's something so magical about that.
It's the most magical thing.
The reading on the internet is not going to get.
Yeah. You're so divorced from it, and then there's this kind of disparity between the world that you occupy in the real world and what you're flooding your mind with. That I think is not helpful. I think that creates more doomerism because then you are absorbing it with no agency. You know, you're just like learning about these things that are happening and you have no input into them.
Yeah.
So
was your decision to join that collective or apply to it? It seems like the most Raza thing to do ever. Or was there some, I think I should, like, I'm curious about your thought process there. I'm wondering, did you do this because you're you? Or was it this realization that if I don't, like, I can sense that there is a gravity there. I can sense that there is a potential for what I'm chasing to learn and change and grow and be a live player, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
It's both. I've done this before. Yeah. I really enjoy going to a new city or a new place and then surrounding myself with whatever the creative energy in that place is. Like I was like studying music in India for a little bit, and then I've back in the early 2010s I was I lived in a hacker hostel, and that's how I got into programming initially. So I keep doing this, but I just went to clown school. That was like a thing I explored. I just like enjoy, you know, whatever is on the perimeter. So it's a mix of both. But this. Also, a shout out to San Francisco for being the epicenter of the human mind. It feels like just creatively the birthplace of the hippie movement and how impactful that was on humanity. The birthplace of the internet, so to speak, or at least where it went. They keep doing it, and that's something that's like Athens. It's like such a foundational city for whatever humanity has accomplished in the last century to half century.
And cities are a big deal.
Yeah.
There's this generative power of being in a city that you catch all this, like through osmosis. Like just being in a city like Austin is good for you. And then there's some cities where you're in them, you can just feel yourself getting dumber.
Yeah.
And meeting people who are like not energy vampires, but almost like
100%
interestingness vampires.
Have you read the Paul Graham essay?
Yeah. Like the ambition of cities is a
you're the average. If you're the average of the 5 people around you, then you are certainly the average of the city you occupy.
Yeah, the most like dynamic times I've had, I was surrounded by people who were just like mind blowing in how they saw the world. It was like so left field.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for people who don't know people like that.
Yeah.
And go a lifetime without having super weird friends who see the world in new ways.
It's the best. Going on that train of thought, where do you think Austin occupies on? How do you think Austin kind of fits in that world?
I'm doing my best not to be a like old school hater. Yeah. When I moved to Austin,
be an old school hater, dog.
25 years ago. I was going to band practice because, of course, I moved here to play in bands. And I picked up my bassist at this shitty apartment complex. And my guitar was like in the backseat of the car. So this guy was walking by and he saw my instrument and he goes, we started talking because people, chat. And he goes, hey, man, you missed it. Austin's done. This is the year 2000. And I was young. So I was like, wait, did I make a big mistake moving here? Like, did I really miss it? And then the next 25 years was like magical and amazing, right? And 10 years after that was when my company blew up. So in 1 year, I was in Seoul, Paris, Rio, like just seeing all these amazing cities, and they were all amazing.
Yeah,
I just always wanted to come back to Austin. The pandemic in Austin changed things a lot, and so there's also like. I wrote this piece called The Magic of Early Cohorts. And what it refers to is the people who are attracted to things in the early phases are the weirdos.
Yeah.
And there's no status points for doing it. So you're getting people who are like, so the cooler something gets, the less you can trust that it's going to be.
Yeah, because it loses its spirit. And and the shell is what remains.
Yeah, and people just come because like, oh, there's some like situational or attendant coolness to it, which is not that cool, right? Cool is knowing the thing that's not cool.
Yeah.
Before everybody else does. So, Austin, we are on the map now, and in fact, like I I don't even live in Austin full time anymore. You know, I spend half the year in Savannah, Georgia, which is its own weird time warp kind of place.
Yeah.
But again, I've been here 25 years, and so I wanted to mix it up a little bit. And I still travel a bunch, but
Yeah.
Austin is still the place where you can strike up a conversation with a stranger, which is fine. When I moved here, you know, it was like required that you play an instrument and join bands to get through the city limits. Like if you don't, like that was required. That's not the case anymore. One thing I wish Austin had was I wish our rich tech millionaires were like supporting arts more. I wish they were like funding artists. There's just because the art scene has suffered tremendously.
Yeah.
It's just been like a lot harder to make a living as a musician.
Yeah.
That's not Austin's fault per se. I mean, it's never been easy to make a living as a creative or musician,
Sure.
but it's like not good.
There's no
now.
spaces. Yeah.
But I've tried that a couple times and failed to like shame rich tech folks into supporting them. But I'm still. That being said, like magic happens in Austin that still does not happen in other places.
Yeah.
And my favorite way of encapsulating this is that when you go to DC and people ask what you do, that is code for how much power do you have.
Yeah.
When you're in New York and people ask, what do you do? That means how much money do you have? When you're in LA and people ask, what do you do? That's how cool are you?
Yeah.
In Austin, when people ask, what do you do? They're not asking about your day job. They're asking about the weird little startup you're running on the side, the nonprofit you're doing, the crypto project, the band you're doing, like your weird other thing. And that's like Austin is very, very supportive of that. There is and I benefited tremendously from this, like being in the city as a young person, like people want to hear about the weird stuff you have going on. And not every place is like that.
Yeah.
And people don't like look you up and down as much. I don't think that vibe is as strong as it used to be, but it's still pretty strong. And this is one of those things where like I could bitch about it, or I can be the guy who always wants to hear about the weird side project that someone's doing, right? So again, that's like what I'm trying to vote for.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I have all my businesses in Austin, and I'm deeply grateful because it is a fertile ground to start things that I never felt when I was in Chicago. It was, taped down with bureaucracy, and it felt very like hard to start something. So I really respect Austin, I guess Texas for that. But I also I need more just insane people.
Yeah.
And I think San Francisco might
We
have
have
that.
some. There's more in SF. One thing about Austin, like one of my favorite stories, is the one theory for the reason Austin is that in the 70s, Willie Nelson was done with Nashville. He was like, this is way too corporate. And he hated it. So he moved to Austin. And
Was he from Austin?
No, I don't think
Okay.
he was from. I think
He
he's
just
from
chose
Dallas. I
Austin.
don't know where he's from, but
Yeah,
he moved to Austin. And so there's three types of people who come to his shows: hippies, shit kickers, and cowboys. No, druggies. I don't know. No, bikers. That's hippies, shit kickers, and bikers. And at Willie Nelson shows, they would not beat the shit out of each other. Any other show, they would. These are groups that don't get along. I don't think the hippies were beating. I think they were but at Willie
They were
Nelson,
the victims.
At Willie Nelson shows, like all three of these groups could just like coalesce. And that was a really like special thing at the time. And I think that spirit is still here. I remember I moved here. I'm playing in like super hipster bands. Like my bassist is like wearing a vest and a mustache and all this shit. And we're playing at Emos back when it was downtown. And the UT football game was on the night we were playing. And like where I'm from, like you gotta choose your lane. You can't play like hipster indie rock and like football.
Right.
You had to be assigned something. And Austin from off the rip was just like really welcoming of all that. So I think Austin's powerful. I do think that like people in SF, like they're speaking a different language. And I think that's what you're going for. You're going to have conversations with people that sound unhinged and sound like a foreign language. And that is when you know you're in the right place. That is when you know you're getting closer to the lodestone of like what you are chasing.
That's exactly
and
what
that's what I'm really excited for you to soak up.
I'm really excited to have conversations like this also in SF and see what I mean. I met a guy. I was at a music festival. I met a guy who he's a PhD at Stanford, and he's this is like a year ago. He was arguing that these LLMs are sentient, and he was of the opinion that the matter with which these computer chips are made kind of defines the sentience. So right now they're all made with silicon, and he is studying under a professor who is creating a particular new form of matter, or not a new form, but like growing crystals in their labs that doesn't appear anywhere in the world except in Chile. And it appears in the mountains of Chile. And then he also connected that all the indigenous tribes there believe that the mountains are sentient, and they speak to the mountains when they do psychedelics. And he thinks there's some correlation there. So he's now trying to gather all of their sacred texts, because they've been understudied in terms of what they originally believed, and is trying to figure out what is the relationship between the chips that these computers are made of and kind of what flavor of sentience they produce.
So that conversation in SF is like, oh, how's the weather?
Yeah.
But again, I mean, that's the thing. Is like, it's so insane that sand is like what silicon is, right?
Yeah.
And that the sand is talking to us.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely
We're making
insane.
these rocks.
And like, my head explodes on a regular basis about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever read the book Blind Sight, but it's got this really interesting take on consciousness. And I don't want to spoil it, but if you're interested in consciousness, it's a great read.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that it's wild that humans, we don't understand what we cannot agree on what consciousness is. And so it's hilarious that we're trying to gauge it in these AI tools if we can't do it ourselves. Now, it's like the telescope problem. A telescope can't look at itself.
Yeah.
So we're having to use the main tool to gauge if the tool works, which is problematic. But man, that Chilean sand or
whatever it is. Yeah. So we'll see. Let me see. I don't want to make sure you're not running
I gotta
late.
go with like one-ish.
Okay.
Oh
cool.
yeah.
So we're about done. Anything you want to plug to the 3 people who's going to listen to this?
I got a great newsletter, camhauser.com/newsletter.
Cool. Yeah. I actually look at it. I know you mentioned Moltbook, and I was like, that's why I was like, we should do this in a conversation. So, excellent newsletter. I'm excited to do this again with you.
Hot.
Thanks for doing this, Cam.
All right,
Appreciate you.
Pleasure.
All right.